Hey guys, what's up? It's the Knife Enthusiast here, coming at you with another review video on the Cold Steel Archangel. Now, a lot of you have been waiting for this video for quite some time now. I got this knife about 3 weeks ago, right before I left for vacation, so I was not actually able to flip it that much because I was getting ready to leave. So after that week, I spent some time flipping it, and then I flipped it a little bit more this week, and I decided to finally make a review video on it, mainly because you guys were asking for it pretty frequently, so I thought I might as well go ahead and post it now before I post anything else. So, like all my review videos, I'll be ranking it at the end of the video for scale 1 to 10 on flipping, EDC, and maybe some other categories, but those are the two main ones. So, start with the video. I want to show you guys the length, I guess. This is an older Balisong. This was early 2000s, like 01, 02, 03, I think. So just keep that in mind. Over here we have the Alpha Beast. This one was a fall of 2012 was when this one was released, so this is pretty frequent. Balisongs, to the best of my knowledge, haven't had like really long handles like the Alpha Beast or the Archangels until frequently. The Archangel, I believe, was one of the first ones to have very long handles, or this kind of length handle. So close these up and show you what I mean for handle comparison. Now, I would kind of classify this Archangel as a larger 42 in a way. So let me put this on this side so they're flat. And we'll put them about even. Just get them in the middle of the camera here. Right there. So as you can see, the Alpha Beast is just a hair longer than the Archangel, if they're not already the same length. But the Archangel does have some extremely long handles because the 42 usually has the longest lengths out of most Balisongs if you're going to compare it to anything, and the Archangel is actually longer than the 42. And the reason I use the Alpha Beast is just something that was really close in length, just to show you guys how long this knife is in comparison. So go ahead and start from the blade, specifically the tip, work our way down. Tip is pretty fine, very pointy. Mine did not come very pointy, it was actually pretty dull, so that's not that big of a deal for me. Edge is razor sharp. A lot of people say razor sharp, but I never really, at least I don't think I do, I never really say razor sharp unless a knife is actually razor sharp. So this is a bayonet blade, so it has that kind of Spyderco spear point looking grind, maybe like a 42 thrown in there, type of blade style. Flat spine, little uncomfortable for flipping because it has these very sharp edges, but not, I mean, that's on all older Balisongs, so you get used to it. Great blade. It's a little plain, not like anything unique like an Alpha Beast or anything, but I really like the old kind of style of just kind of plain blades. I think it's really cool. They did a great job on the markings. I really like it when companies take the time to make their logos look good, because I've had some Balisongs in the past where their own company logo just looks awful on the knife. So really like how companies do that. So it's carbon V steel, which comes to our first negative carbon V, carbon 5, whatever you want to call it. Our first negative of the video, which is this blade takes a lot of maintenance. Now, there is something you can do if you don't want to oil your blade constantly to keep it from corroding. And if you don't know what carbon V is, it basically is a steel that's very easily, it corrodes easily, very non-resistant to corrosion. So on my blade, I don't really have any corrosion. I have a little bit on the spine, not much, but where my real corrosion problem is on the back of the tang here. If I could get a good zoom in. Has all these little pits from where the corrosion is, and I can kind of make it out right here. But you can see in here, especially there, a little bit up there, that those aren't just rust spots or flakes you can oil out and be gone. Those are actual pits in the knife, little holes or dents in the blade, I guess, that they don't go away, and it's just corrosion. It just happens. So with this particular knife, they all come in carbon V, so you're going to have to be really careful with maintenance to make sure it doesn't corrode or rust a lot. So you can oil it up, or you can get Renaissance wax, which I will be doing a review on later. It is a tremendous product. I put this on the blade 3 weeks ago, right when I got it, just a thin layer. Looks like there's nothing even on the blade at all, and it keeps corrosion out remarkably well. I had a little bit of corrosion problem the first couple of days. I had it up here on the spine, just a tad bit though, mainly because of the weather, but it wasn't even anything concernable. It was like very minor, just starting, so I got it early. But I was able to put that Renaissance wax on, and I've had no problem since then. So great stuff. Doing a review on that shortly. Horns, don't really have an opinion on horns. I honestly find horns kind of useless. I've heard people say that you can do tricks with them. I don't know how exactly that works, because I mean, it's kind of a small area to grab onto or do something with. So anyway, what else? So besides the one flaw about the blade, I really like this style of blade. It makes it very balanced, very thin, very long blade. Perfect blade in my opinion for these handles, because it makes the handles and the blade are perfectly balanced in my opinion, making it smooth, balanced, and lightweight. So that's that. Moving on to the hardware. Just go through every aspect of this knife. Torque screws and pins. I prefer torque screws and pins. Not really a big fan of the screws and screws. I don't have a problem with it. I just find it easier with pins and screws. So great, because you can adjust your knife. So even if it falls apart, put it back together, put some Loctite in it, you're good to go. I would also recommend putting Loctite on any of your Balisongs that have torque screws or screws in general. Keep it from backing out while you're flipping. So great addition. Next thing is this. It has a single tang pin here. Now, it also has these little indentions in the actual handle for the tang pin, which I will talk about later on. It's a good and a bad thing, I guess. I'll talk about that later when I get down more towards spot clip. So, these are titanium handles, which means it is very lightweight. I believe it's around the 4-ounce range. I never actually weighed it yet, so I should probably do that. But channel construction titanium, as you can see there. Love the old style of titanium, I guess. New titanium, or not new titanium, but this, I guess, particular type of titanium that they used on the 42 and the Archangel are kind of an older titanium. It's more expensive and harder to find, I guess, because there's a lot of knives that have been coming out with titanium handles, but they haven't been quite like the 42 or the Archangel. And I believe they're the same titanium because they feel the same, the Archangel and the 42, just a different hole pattern. So I love the fact that it's channel construction, mainly because I think it cleans up the knife a little bit. Don't get to see the blade from the outsides. I think it looks a lot nicer that way. It does add a little bit extra weight, but I prefer them to look kind of good like this. I just like the channel construction more. Personal preference. Moving on to hole patterns. Now this hole pattern was actually my personal favorite, but it was only on the Baron Sun Silver Vein, which is the lowest kind of quality knife you can get. I think it's like 20 bucks. It's a great knife to start out with, but nothing more. So I love the hole pattern on it though, because it was great when I was learning rollovers. I could adjust to different spots like here or here and start my rollover. So it gives you it's really great for different kind of groove, for different ways if you want to go do a rollover shorter or longer. It gives kind of a perfect spacing there for rollovers in my opinion. So I like that aspect of the knife for rollovers specifically. For twirling and that kind of stuff, it's pretty well balanced. It's smooth. It doesn't pinch up on your fingers or anything. I haven't experienced any pinching with this knife so far. My 42 has pinched me a couple of times, but it's got the same spine as the 42, so I was expecting it to do somewhere along the same kind of feeling, but oh well. So that's that for the handle. So it's channel construction titanium handle. I love the hole pattern on this. Probably one of my favorites, just for the rollover action that I talked about. So moving on to the pocket clip. This is kind of a pro and a con. If you love EDCing your Balisongs, this is a perfect thing for you. The pocket clip is flush mounted to the handle. It is very thin, I guess, very flat on the handle. It doesn't feel kind of bulky in a way, in my opinion at least. But it's on the safety handle, so it's a little different than most Balisongs that put them on the bite handle, which is a little bit confusing when you open it up. So it is flush mounted to the handle, and you cannot switch it to the other side. So If you take it off and you don't want it, it just kind of looks hideous, so I would suggest keeping it on. Now what you can do, and this is where the tang pin comes in, is you can switch the handle. So you can put this latch on the safety handle and move the safety handle and make it the bite handle, so you have all your hardware and stuff on the handle on the bite handle. Only problem is most people would just instinctively think, oh, I'll just literally take this and move it here. You actually, because of these little grooves, which a lot of people did not know, well, maybe you do, but you have to flip the actual handle over, like so, and then reassemble it that way, just move the screws and whatnot. So you can't just move it straight over, or else there's no groove here to hit on the inside. So that's where the good thing is, but I do like how it keeps it nice and snug in there, the tang pin and the cutout. So latch. The latch is phenomenal for a T-latch, especially the old T-latches. I am not a big fan of the old T-latches. They get in the way a lot. I just don't really like them that much. But this one isn't as bad as the others. So I also have my Benchmade 42 T-Latch, which is also for sale. If you want this one, message me. Go check out the video on it. Quick little advertising. Which I'll show you a comparison of the T-Latches here. Real quickly. Trying to make this video shorter than the last time, because last time it cut out on me. So try to move a little bit faster. Put these side by side. Now, as you can see here, the Archangel's on the right, 42 T-Latches on the left. The Archangel has a very thin, very small T-Latch compared to the 42. 42 has a very thick, very bulky kind of T-Latch, which I'm not a big fan of. For one reason, it's just kind of big and I don't like it, and two, and I love the thinner one because it's just easier to handle. I find it just doesn't get in the way and it's not as uncomfortable. So same kind of design, but they made it thinner and smaller in the Archangel. Now, show you a comparison of why there's a major difference, and that is when you have it, actually probably do better close. Now I'll do it open. 42, the T-Latch comes that far into the handle. So it can stall up your moves a lot. It kind of stalls them up pretty, not very frequently, but when it does stall up, it stalls up pretty good. As you can see right there, it just comes way into the handle. And I can't push it any more forward, so that's about as far as it's going to get. The Archangel, surprisingly, which I was not aware of, the T-Latch comes to about there, which is kind of right at, like, if I push it down on it, as you can see, I'm pushing down on it, that's as far as it's going to go, is right there, which is kind of like halfway on and off. So most of the time it'll just kind of bounce off because it's only halfway on, and it's very rare that it will actually stall like that. So usually it'll just be like halfway and just bounce off. So it's very surprising, and I'll try and get the other one up here too, just side by side. So as you can see there, it is noticeably different in the latches. So put this 42 away while we're talking about the Archangel. So that's that for the flipping, or the latch. It is reversible, so you can move to the other handle. If you don't like the pocket clip, you can take it off, but it really does look pretty bad if you don't have the pocket clip on, so I'd recommend keeping it on. And just move the latch and change up the handles if you want. That's probably the best option I can recommend. So let's go over some flipping aspects now. Got about 3 minutes left in the video I can use, I believe, on my camera, so trying to make this go a little bit faster. Flipping aspects. It is balanced, it's perfectly balanced, it's very lightweight, and it's very long. So the extra length in the handles is very helpful for flipping, have more material to grab onto when you're doing tricks, so you can grab onto things easier, makes tricks a lot easier when you're doing aerials and stuff, have more handle material to grab onto. The blade is the perfect blade for these handles, in my opinion. I really like long, thin blades that are not really thicker than the handles. They're kind of the same thickness to keep it very balanced. So the knife, in my opinion, is very balanced, it's very lightweight, and it is probably the third best flipper I've ever owned. It's definitely in the top 3. It's tremendous. I love it. Only flaw is that I could probably find with the whole thing is that it has a T-Latch, but I honestly don't mind this T-Latch as much because it doesn't get in the way as often as the other T-Latches I've used, but I do prefer spring latches on my Balisongs if I can get them. So just personal preference. So it's very lightweight, very well balanced. I mean, this is almost as balanced as a 42. The 42 is probably the most balanced knife I've ever owned, but this is very close. So it's a great knife for flipping. Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably rank this at about a 9.5, mainly because it's really close to being a perfect knife, but I feel that the T-Latch kind of hinders it just a tad bit, and that's probably about it. I probably had one other thing to say, but I can't remember it. But overall, this knife is just near perfect. It's amazing. It's a great legendary knife, and it is definitely a good competitor with the 42. I haven't actually made up my mind on which one I actually think is better, but I will be making a comparison video on that shortly, and I'll be doing my opinion on which one I think is better. But I give this one a 9.5. It's got everything you would want in a flipper. T-Latch, if you don't mind the T-Latch, then you can basically call this a perfect knife. But, well, I don't want to say perfect, but 9.5. EDC, because it has the pocket clip, I'd give it probably about an 8 or a 7. I don't think this blade is much of a working blade. I would say it's kind of made more... This is more of a flipping knife than an EDC, so I'd give it more of a 6 or a 7, actually, because I don't think it's made for EDC at all. So those